This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
We have got a couple of massive matches on tap this weekend in the Premier League. We've got Tottenham taking on Aston Villa as those two teams jockey for top four spots in the table. Man City is taking on Liverpool as well. We're going to break down both those matches in depth by talking to Austan Cass for today, getting his read on where he sees value there and across the rest of Matchweek 28 as well. Then I'll dive into NASCAR and Phoenix and let you know where my models show value at FanDuel Sportsbook. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and FanDuel Research. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a managing editor of digital media for FanDuel Research. Joined here to start things off by Austan Cass. Check him out on Twitter at Austan Cass. Find his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior editor. Austan, it is a delight to have you back on the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you?
I am delightful. Excited for some pretty fun matches this weekend. It seems like for you, as a dad, you're waking up early on Saturdays anyway. It probably is a lot easier to justify the early wake up time when you get treated with some fun matches on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome that the schedule of soccer being on in the mornings and you can kind of be done with the sports watching by noon is a big plus for me now that I have kids and other things to worry about.
That is the other reason I like Formula One is because especially during NFL season, if I can have something fun to divert my attention in the lead up to kickoff in the NFL, it's huge. So I fully understand that. And non-NFL season, it's done like you said, noon or so. You got your entire day to hang out. I think that's definitely a plus. No kids for me in the mix yet, but even as a non-kid haver, that is a pretty big addition.
Yeah, I usually spend my NFL Saturday mornings overthinking DFS decisions.
I got a safeguard against that. That's why. This is why you need to watch F1, so you can not over tinker.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot.
All right. We'll get you on board eventually. We got you on board with NASCAR. You and your kids both on board with NASCAR. So Formula One, the next logical progression in that as well. We'll talk some NASCAR again later on today, as mentioned, for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series out in Phoenix, letting you know where I see value for this week. We'll talk to Austan about the EPL in 1 second. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. I broke down my favorite MLB futures on the show yesterday, talked about a couple of divisional bets and a win total I like over at FanDuel Sportsbook. To get that in every show as they are posted, make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And don't forget, you can find a video version of the show on the FanDuel YouTube page and on FanDuel TV+. Austan, let's begin things by talking about those two fun matches for this week. Let's start things off with Tottenham versus Aston Villa. We're right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Pretty tightly contested match. Aston Villa plus 145 is the home team, and Tottenham plus 160. A draw is plus 290. Where are you seeing value, if anywhere, in this game for Saturday?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, this is a really big game. Most weekends, this would be the headline game, but not this weekend. So for this one, I think we're going to see goals, and I'm taking over 3.5 goals at minus 110. As we talked about a few times this season, Tottenham's matches have been the best. They've been the best watch of the year. They're the only team that's in the top 10 in XG created and in the top 10 for most XG surrendered, according to FBref's XG model. They consistently play in matches where both sides get a handful of quality chances. There's been at least 3 goals in 16 of their past 17 league matches, with 9 of those going over 3.5. Lately, Villa have been following that same mold. Their defensive metrics are solid overall for the season, but they've shipped multiple goals in 5 of their last 7 games across all competitions, including 2 apiece to Nottingham Forest and Luton Town in the past 2 matches. That's 2 of the sides that are fighting basically for the last relegation spot, fighting to avoid it, I should say. On the other end of the pitch, Villa's attack has been really good as well. They've scored the second most home goals in the league this season. They've scored 9 goals over their last 3 outings. So I think it all adds up to some attacking fireworks on Sunday in this battle that's huge for the top 4, and I like it to go over 3.5 goals.
As you mentioned, that is minus 110 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, in the NBA, when it's a huge game during the playoffs, we'll see role players step up. We'll see defense kind of clamp down. How does scoring trend, if you know, you might not know this, it might not trend at all. How does scoring trend in the EPL when it's a massive match like this, where both sides have a lot of incentive to try to win the match?
So that's a great question. I think traditionally, I don't know for sure. That's the short answer. But I think traditionally, I think the narrative is in like cup finals or huge games like Arsenal and City were this year. It's typically more low scoring. I think defenders and teams are hesitant to make an error that leads to a goal. I thought about that a lot when I was looking at this, but Tottenham, it's just not how they play. They've shown time and time again that they are just going to attack no matter what. So I think that's kind of something I was thinking about here and what pushes me toward that. And then just both defenses have been really just pretty bad lately. But it's something to think about, and I do think Villa would be way cooler, way happier with the tie than Spurs would, just based on the current tape. Right now, Villa's 5 points ahead, but they've played one more game. So the fact that Tottenham are always attacking anyway, and they're the side that really needs to win this match, makes me feel better that we're going to see a high-scoring game.
And they've had success being this attacking team, so there's no reason for them to deviate. That's been their bread and butter this year, so I think that makes a lot of sense. So Aston Villa, Tottenham, over 3.5 goals, -110. That is where Austan is going there. Other big match of this weekend is, of course, Man City taking on Liverpool right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Man City is a very slight favorite, despite being on the road here. They're +125 on the money line. Liverpool is +190. A draw is +270. What you seeing in this one, Austan?
So this should be really great. For me, these two have been the best teams in Europe the last handful of years, especially with Pep and Klopp since they've gotten there. I get really excited when they square off. The past few years, they've had some really high-level games. As you alluded to, it should be a really close one. The betting market tells you that. But when you factor in the injuries that Liverpool are dealing with, I lean toward Man City's money line at +125. It's really tough to bet against Liverpool at Anfield, but it speaks volumes that City are a road favorite here, even though it's very slight. But as I said, it's mostly due to the injuries. Liverpool are going to be without Alisson, their starting goalie. That's a big deal. They're also without Trent Alexander-Arnold and Diogo Jota. Jota is a quality attacker, and Trent's one of the key creative pieces for Liverpool. And then Mohamed Salah hasn't started for Liverpool since January 1st. He's trending in the right direction. It seems like he's probably going to be able to play. But even if he starts, he's probably not going to be 100% and could be rusty. If Liverpool at full strength, I think they'd likely be a slight favorite, maybe even a little bigger than slight. But they're clearly not at full strength. While City are the opposite. They've actually gotten most of their key players back recently and are really rounding into form. Since December 16th, City have gone unbeaten. They've won 15 of 17 matches in all competitions with a pair of draws. They have a slightly better expected goal difference than Liverpool on the year, and that's with Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland both missing time this season. So it's a huge matchup in the title race, and as we've seen time and time again in recent years, City continually step up in these kinds of matches, and I'm backing them to get a win at Anfield on Sunday.
So tough assignment here for Man City going on the road to take on Arsenal or take on Liverpool. But given the health of both squads, Man City trending up, Liverpool trending up, but not as fast as you would hope with Salah there as well. Austan is taking Man City +125. That match is on Sunday. 8 other matches, though, Austan, across Matchweek 28. So let's start off with the traditional markets. Anything stand out to you across the other 8 matches this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm going to say something that should make us very uncomfortable, and that's let's back Sheffield United on Saturday morning at 10, specifically in the double chance market at +230. They've been really bad. I think we talked about them before the season as a relegation candidate because they actually kind of like the transfer moves they made in the summer kind of made them a worse team than they were last year in the championship, which isn't really a good thing when you're coming into the highest level of domestic league that there is. They've definitely performed like one of the worst sides in recent Premier League history. They've given up at least 5 goals in 4 of their past 7 matches. They scored only once in their past 4 matches. They've either won or drew just 3 times since Christmas. So they're bad. Now that we have that out of the way, I think the market is overreacting a little bit to how bad Sheffield United have been lately. Bournemouth being a minus 310 money line favorite is really jarring because they're not really that good either. They're 15th in expected goal differential, 15th in goal differential. And then bottom 7 in both goals scored and goals conceded. They lost the XG battle at Burnley 1.5 to 1.1 their last match, and Burnley's the second worst team in the league. Before that game, Bournemouth had drawn or lost each of their previous 6 outings. And plus, going back to Sheffield United, if you will pardon me and think about narratives for a second, which I don't love to do, but some pride has to kick in at some point for them. They just got embarrassed in an island game, the Premier League's version of Monday Night Football, where they conceded 5 to Arsenal in the first half at home. Yeah. So pride in playing hard, that alone isn't going to get it done for them. But I think they're going to be really up for this game. And they'll view Bournemouth as a team where they should be able to compete with them. So in short, while they should be an underdog for sure, I think this plus 230 number is a bit inflated. And it's not easy to back Sheffield United, but I'm doing it this weekend.
I mean, you were talking about that match from earlier on this week. It's a bit different to face Arsenal than it is to face Bournemouth. So I think that underreacting to that is probably a proper move, given that it seems like although Bournemouth's the better team here, it's a more level match than what we saw in that 6-0 drubbing.
Absolutely. And they also got smashed by Brighton a few games before, and Brighton's, not Arsenal, but they're a pretty good team and they can do that to pretty good sides too. So another thing is the XG numbers aren't good for Sheffield United, but they're not 6-0 bad either.
Sure.
So I think, they're not good, but I think people are overreacting a little bit to how bad they've been lately. And I think they're due to play a little bit better at some point.
I do love a bet that requires an apology beforehand, so I'm on board. That is in the double chance market, Sheffield United to either win or draw against Bournemouth in the double chance market, plus 230 on that one for Austin. What could go wrong betting on Sheffield United regardless of opponent? What about player props, Austin? Where are you seeing value in the player prop market across Matchweek 28?
In the Wolves-Fulham match on Saturday morning, I'm going to go back to the goal or assist market again, which is a weekly theme for us here. And I'm taking Pedro Neto to score or assist at plus 130. I really like Neto, and it's been great to see him back healthy lately after he struggled with injuries. Without the injury woes, he probably wouldn't be at Wolves still. He would have got snapped up by a bigger club, and it's probably going to happen this summer. He's got 2 goals and 9 assists in 17 league starts, and he has 4 combined goals and assists across his past 6 starts in which he's played at least 70 minutes. I added the minutes qualifier because he came off at halftime last weekend with what looked like another injury, but the reports that I've seen have been mostly positive, saying that the removal was a precaution. So hopefully he's able to play this weekend. I 100% would recommend checking Wolves lineup at 9 a.m. Eastern time Saturday morning before you place this bet, because there's a legit chance that he doesn't start. But as long as he starts, I like his chances to contribute to a goal against the Fulham side that's given up the 6th most expected goals this year.
All right, that's for the Wolves versus Fulham matchup. Pedro Neto to score or assist plus 130. As Austin mentioned, though, this is one to check back on later on. See what the lineup is on Saturday. See if Neto is in there, given that potential injury. Sounds like it's precautionary, but just to make sure. But if he does wind up in the starting lineup, he can still get him at plus 130. You can take that to score or assist for Pedro Neto this weekend for Wolves versus Fulham. That is Austin Cass. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Austin Cass. Find his work at FanDuel Research. Austin, appreciate the time as always. Good luck to you this weekend and enjoy what should be a delightful Saturday and Sunday of soccer.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jim.
Alrighty. Again, find Austin on Twitter at Austin Cass. Appreciate him swinging by here once again, as always, to break down EPL Match Week 28. We're going to talk about some NASCAR here in just 1 second and let you know where I'm seeing value for this weekend in Phoenix. But first, as a reminder, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit the FanDuel app and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and Vermont. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700. Visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghealth.org in Maryland, 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's take a look now at some NASCAR in Phoenix for this weekend. It's the first race they've had with their new short track package, very short spoilers, new rear diffusers, a lot of changes here. And they ran a practice session with this new rules package back in December. And in that session, Toyota is very fast. Christopher Bell was the class of the pack that day. Eric Jones in a Toyota ran pretty well too. And that's part of why I liked Martin Truex Jr. at 12-1 when I put up my betting guide yesterday on FanDuel Research. As you can see, if you're watching on FanDuel TV Plus or the FanDuel YouTube page, Truex is now 10-1. And at that number, he is no longer a value there. But in that movement, Brad Keselowski lengthened to 25-1 to win this race. And that, to me, is long enough to justify taking a look at Keselowski for this race. I had value in Keselowski when he was 20-1 yesterday. I also did like his top 10 bet at -120. That is lengthened to even money. Keselowski had good speed on the short flat tracks last year, which is what Phoenix is. He finished 5th in New Hampshire. He had a 6th place average running position in the first Phoenix race as well, and was solid in Richmond. Phoenix has never really been Keselowski's best track, but it's also not a bad track for him. And he's had some bad luck at this track in the next-gen era. So I don't want to overweigh what Keselowski has done in the next-gen era at Phoenix. Now, RFK Racing, which is Keselowski's team, was pretty poor last week. Keselowski did finish 13th, but he didn't have 13th place speed. And Chris Buescher, not the fastest in practice, and then did wreck during the race as well. And that's concerning, especially given that was the first race with Ford's new nose. But this is a very different track. It's a different rules package. And we did see Keselowski run well on this track type last year. I want to be sure I don't overweigh what we saw out of RFK Racing last week, given how different this track is. My model has Keselowski at 6.4% to win. His implied odds at plus 2,500 or 3.9%. So even if I do ding Keselowski for last week, probably still going to be a value at his current number. As far as the top 10 bets, I've got him 56% there. Again, 50% implied odds, even money. So I think that he makes a lot of sense. I'm going to take both of those with Keselowski, the top 10 and the win. I want to be in a spot where I profit if Keselowski does finish inside the top 10, but then give myself more upside should Keselowski fully hit the upside here and win this race. So Keselowski, even money for a top 10 and 25-1 to win the race, the two spots I like for the Cup Series this weekend. As far as the Xfinity Series goes, this is a really good field. We don't always see that with the Xfinity Series, but this weekend is pretty stacked. You, of course, have John Hunter Nemechek back in the field once again this week after his win last week. You've got Eric Almirola running again in a Gibbs car, and William Byron is a Hendrick car as well. Byron, runaway favorite at FanDuel Sportsbook. He is plus 240 before things fall off a bit from there. Right now, I am showing value at FanDuel Sportsbook on just two drivers. One is Corey Heim. I have him 1.1% to win. His implied odds are 1, so, it is what it is there. But other one is Eric Almirola at 9-1. Now, I want to give a big word of caution here. And that word of caution is that FanDuel is higher on Almirola than other sportsbooks are, and I'm higher on Almirola than FanDuel is. So I am way off the market on Almirola, and that's a big red flag. The same was true last week, and Almirola didn't really compete all that well in that race. But this is a different track, and it's a track type where Almirola has been very, very good in the Cup Series. He was fantastic on these throughout his entire career. He won New Hampshire just a couple of years ago. Last year, Almirola finished runner-up in the playoff Martinsville race, which was his second to last race as a full-time driver in Cup. Phoenix for him was not as good as New Hampshire was, but it was still a good overall track. So what we get here again is a driver who is in the prime years of his career, as he's in his age 39 season or age 40 season, and he's driving for a very, very good car at Joe Gibbs Racing. When you combine that together, I've got Almirola 18% to win. That is very high compared to the market. So again, I could be way off here, and there's a good chance that's the case. But his implied odds at FanDuel are 10-1, and again, they are higher on Almirola than other sportsbooks are. I do think Almirola is worth a look, despite the fact there is a good chance I am way off on this one. Even if the best number you can get is 9-1 on Almirola, I would at least give him a long, hard consideration here, given his strength on tracks like this and given the equipment he is in for this weekend. So I do want to acknowledge how far off I am on Almirola compared to others, but still think he's worth a look, given all things here. So for NASCAR this weekend in Phoenix, I like Brad Keselowski winning Cup 25-1, Keselowski top 10 even money, and then Almirola to win Xfinity. That is 9-1 at FanDuel Sportsbook. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Tomorrow, big show, UFC 299 preview with Austin Swain. He'll break down the main event, Chito Vera taking on Sean O'Malley, break down his read on that one and other money lines and props he likes at FanDuel Sportsbook for UFC 299, the next pay-per-view for UFC. Big thank you once again to Austin Cass. Find him on Twitter at Austin Cass. Check out his work at FanDuel Research. I am on Twitter at Jim Sonis. You can find me on threads at Jim.Sonis and find FanDuel Research on Twitter at FanDuel Research. Again, make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed to get the show with Austin on UFC 299 tomorrow as it goes live. Want to thank you all for tuning in, and good luck to you with your bets across Thursday. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to round out this week. This has been Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.